Hawkeye has now finished its run on Disney Plus just in time for Christmas. So today we're going to talk about the series as a whole, the finale, everything and anything in between, including spoilers. Let's go. Clint and Kate's partnership is tested as they face the consequences of exposing the big conspiracy given last week's stinger of an ending with the reveal of Kingpin. Now, before I properly get started with my review for Hawkeye, for the finale, for the show, I want to know your thoughts on it. How do you rank the episodes of Hawkeye? How do you rank the show amongst the other Disney Plus MCU shows? Anything and everything down there in the comments below. And if you like movies and TV, this is the place to be, so make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any future conversation on your favorite movies and TV. So we're going to talk about the finale first. Again, full spoilers for everything, and then I'm going to dive into my thoughts about the show as a whole, give it the final grade. This finale I thought was good. It was really fun. It continues the ideas that the show put up and set up and built throughout its run. It's a really fun show, and the fact that it's Christmas, it's set in New York, right at Rockefeller Center with a big Christmas tree, it just has a very fun environment, and it has fun with itself, with the action, with the story, with the characters. I love that they immediately give us Kingpin. I love that they immediately let us know just what is going on, what is the relationship there between Eleanor and Kingpin. I wish Eleanor was more evil, if that makes sense. I wish she was properly in cahoots with him by her own will and not something that she was pressured into because of former dealings of her husband, because we just can't connect with that. We never got to meet Kate's dad, sadly, and turns out he really is that. But I love Vincent D'Onofrio in this. I love how they shoot him. There's constantly an over-the-shoulder shot of him looking down at everyone else. When you have a front shot of him, it's always looking up at him. He is this massive, imposing figure. We do get to see him in action later in the episode. So everything they did with most everything they did with Kingpin, we get to that final scene in a bit, was great. I also really love the relationship between Yelena and Kate throughout this episode, as Kate is trying to stop her from getting to Clint, and Yelena is trying to just get Kate out of the way. She doesn't want to hurt her. I love her dry sense of humor, and Florence Pugh is sensational in this role. And the banter between the two when they're on the elevator, when they're fighting one another, and Yelena is, and oh, that was really cool, the body throwing. Just give me a show with them yesterday, please. And once more, like in all the other episodes, the relationship between Clint and Kate is the biggest highlight of this show. Those moments when it's the two of them, whether just talking, just confessing something to them. There's a big moment in here where Kate is talking to Clint about what he made her believe, that she didn't need superpowers, that all she needed to do to be a hero was be willing to do the right thing. And I think that's really impactful. That's very compelling character motivation, and it makes sense given the arc that we've seen her have throughout this show. And even Clint, I have always loved throughout the show the whole thing about him. He's just done with everybody's shit. He just wants to get home. He just wants to solve the situation. And the big fight he has with Kazi is like, he's actively trying to avoid killing him. Because if Clint goes full on into a fight, if he goes serious into a fight, he's gonna kill someone. So I love that he actually lets Kazi get the upper hand every now and then, but he's prepared for the rest of the tracksuit mafia and the whole tricks that he pulls and the roof collapsing on him. Just really great stuff. The action overall in this episode is the best example of the great action that we've seen throughout the Hawkeye show. If you followed the review so far, you know I've been half and half on the action. Sometimes they give us great action, other times they skimp out on it a little bit. This entire episode, from beginning to end, every single action sequence, it was the best that they had to offer. So I'm really glad to see that. And we do get to see Kingpin in action, and Vincent D'Onofrio is sensational once more in the role. He hasn't missed a step. It's just like he last played him yesterday, and he's once again playing him today, just rips the door off the Eleanor's car and starts the fight with Kate that she has no shot at winning. She just outsmarts him eventually, but that fight is great. Just brute strength from beginning to end with Kingpin throwing Kate around. Though that car maneuver Eleanor pulled does not make sense whatsoever, because like the car was turned this way, and then so she had to maneuver out and turn the car this way to then push Kingpin onto that store. So that didn't really make sense, but I like the fight with Kate. I really love how Kingpin constantly kicks her ass, and I love just how that whole explosion with the arrow that was overwhelmingly set up. Like, they set up this arrow that's too dangerous, and it's an explosion that doesn't even kill the dude. Granted, not a normal dude, clearly, but a dude nonetheless. I also love that he has the cane throughout the episode. So that's all great stuff. The confrontation, the final fight between Clint and Elena, really good stuff. I think the conversation, when she finally starts to believe in him, when he throws out the whistle, that's a really good touch. That's really emotional. It touches on what we've seen Elena go through with Natasha from Black Widow. It's not just a reference, it's actually something that we've learned is meaningful for the characters. So that's a good touch. But what they actually say in those moments, I don't know how that really changes Elena's mind. I understand why she eventually changes their mind, but actual proper wording that they use with one another just didn't sit right. I love Kate becoming her hero. It's not beating someone up. Her real struggle was confronting her mother with the truth and sending her to jail, not letting anyone fall for it. There's a cool moment with Jack too, that we see the sword, like he's really good with the sword, then he helps Kate at one point. Really good stuff, and I hope we do see more of them together in an eventual season 2, which I'm pretty sure we're going to get. And another thing that I had a big issue with, and that I hope this is just a trick, I hope this is just a bamboozle to all of us, is that Echo kills Kingpin, apparently. I don't... Really? You bring the guy in, you do all these teases, and do such a great job with him in this one episode. And then you kill him. When you just... Spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. When you just brought out Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock again. I just don't buy into the death. I think she shot him in the knee. I think she shot him right in the ear or right beside it. I think she had mercy on him. And the whole Echo thing is an issue that we're going to get in a bit. So I hope that is true, because apart from that, then we got the whole satisfying finale with Clint going home to Christmas. He takes Kate and Lucky with him, which I predicted. I'm sure you all predicted. The giving of the watch is nice. We got a confirmation that Linda Cardellini is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. But I wish you could have gotten a confirmation that she is someone, whoever she is. Maybe she is Mockingbird. Maybe she is Bobby Morse. I just wish there was something more to it, not the, hey, I got you a watch, and it was yours all along, which we all predicted. And Clint finally buries his past alongside Kate, which kickstarted it all over again. So that is a nice, really good full circle moment for both the characters and for this one story. And there's a post-credit scene with a number from Rogers the Musical, by the way. So overall, this is a flawed yet very fun finale that again brings what they started to a close. There's a full circle moment for basically everything. Whether it is satisfying or not is another thing, and I don't think every single aspect is satisfying, but what they set up in this show naturally came to its conclusion. The show overall is very much like this finale. This finale really exposed my thoughts on the show in general, and that it's fun, it's very enjoyable, it's got great characters, fantastic characters. It doesn't have the best story, and I think one of the aspects that exposes that the most is the episode number. So far, I have not had an issue with the runtime, the episode number of the Disney Plus show. I think 9 worked extremely well for WandaVision, 6 worked extremely well for Falcon and Winter Soldier. The flaws of that show were something else entirely, and Loki is just fabulous. Loki has virtually no flaws, in my opinion. Hawkeye really, needed to condense its story and take out a few story threads to make it a movie, and you could have done it in a proper 2 hour, maybe 2 hour 15 movie, or lengthen its runtime a bit with 8 episodes. Even 7, I think it would have worked, but 7 is just a weird number to have the episode number of a show. So I think 8 episodes would have allowed more time for each of these stories to breathe, because I enjoy what they had Echo doing here, but this show did a terrible job, honestly, at setting up Echo as an interesting character for her own show, because that's what they were doing with this show. Her entire character in this has a role to play, obviously, but the grand design is to have her be launched into her own show. And in that aspect, on that perspective, I think Hawkeye did a terrible job at setting up this character as interesting enough to have her own show. Her backstory is interesting. She has interesting relationships and compelling motivations. But now those motivations were concluded. There's nothing driving her forward, at least right now that we know, to see her have her own show. I think Alaqua Cox does an amazing job in the role. She's a great actress, but the character herself just doesn't interest me that much. Overall, unfortunately, Hawkeye just feels uneven and hollow. It's a nice little Christmas treat. I'm going to watch the show on Christmas because it just gives me that nice feeling of Christmas time. And again, the characters are excellent. I love Kate and Clint. I love their dynamic. I love them as individuals. I want to see them going forward as a duo. We're sure going to get a season 2, so I hope season 2 gets better. They just weren't included in the most interesting story, and I thought the story was told in a very uneven way with a little bit of an all over the place pacing that just doesn't allow the story to move organically. It had to take all these steps forwards and then a little bit backwards to introduce other story threads, and then it moved a little bit forwards again, but then it went backwards because it had to introduce this other thing. And so there's just too many stories and too little going on with each of these stories to connect. It just feels like they're all happening at the same time a little bit, and they come together because of that, because of the location and of the time setting. The series Hawkeye just feels overall bizarre in how it wants to do things, because it clearly understands its characters. It just didn't create the best world around them. It didn't give them the most interesting story. It had this interesting relationship at its core that really works, but the rest really leaves something to be desired. Again, really good action for the most part. It just doesn't leave the characters on a very interesting place. It does incredibly questionable choices with the route that it decides to take these characters, but the relationship at its core kept it going for me, and it kept it very entertaining. Gave me that warm Christmas feeling. It has some good comedy, some nice little drama, some nice little introspection for the characters. And so even though it starts at a very hard place and it ends in a solid way, the middle is just a little bit too jumbled for me. And so at 6 episodes, Hawkeye finds itself in this weird space where it's either too short for all the stories it wants to tell and close out and bring together, but it also feels too long for something that should have been more concise and more focused on the character aspects. I'm giving Hawkeye a B-. And so those are my thoughts on Hawkeye Season 1. What are your thoughts on it? Don't forget to let me know anything and everything down there in the comments below. Just start the conversation, because it's the most important part. And don't forget, if you like what you saw here, make sure to click that subscribe button, because if you like movies and TV, this is the place to be. And we got a ton of stuff coming, including the Matrix Resurrections review, Season 1 of the Wheel of Time review, Sing 2, Don't Look Up, all the top 10s for the end of the year, and I already have several videos on Spider-Man No Way Home, spoiler-free review, spoiler review, post-credit scene ending explained, and of course a Spider-Man movie ranking. I hope to see you in any of those. I hope to see you in all of those. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.